Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Reviewron, and today we're going to be doing another Killing Floor 2 tier list. This is going to be for all the SWAT skills. We are continuing our tier list of all the skills. We just have this one and Survivalist next. So let's begin with SWAT. We're going to be ranking each of these once I kind of talk briefly about each one, what they do, and how practically good they are. So our very first skills are level 5, and our first one is Heavy Armor Training. This makes it, well, you have body armor, you cannot take health damage, with the exception of sonic attacks. So the Matriarch Scream as well as Siren Screams will still hurt your health. Everything else has to break your armor, or at least knock your armor very low before it can actually touch your health. Because I have had things like Flesh Pounds and Scrags hit me when I've had, you know, maybe 9, 10 armor, and because the way armor sort of works as it breaks in this game, I get reduced to like 1 armor or 2 armor or something like that, and then it still touches my health. So you're not 100% immune. I am assuming this is just because it rolls back the armor or something like that. But for the most part, you can't be hurt as long as you get armor. This also makes it so you can't get grabbed, and that's really useful because that means rioters and clots, they can't grab you. That can be really annoying, and besides Berserker, I think you're the only class that actually has this. And then you also start each match with 50% armor. That is really good. That is really strong, especially for the start of the game. It makes you tankier than most other classes would be, not necessarily all classes. So you have a very high chance of surviving the first few waves, which SWAT is incredibly good at doing that. They have incredibly good weapons for doing that as well, and this one is a really solid skill. I really enjoy it. I would probably put this one up into A tier, and I got to change the background because it's too dark. There we go. Much better now. Our other level 5 is Tactical Movement. This makes it so you receive no movement penalty when using the iron sights or crouching. This also, I guess, sort of stacks if you're crouching and using the iron sights of the weapon. And once again, with all these that say iron sights, it doesn't actually mean you need to have a gun that has iron sights. You could have any sight on your gun whatsoever, just so long as you're looking down the sights. Then you get no move speed penalty as well as when you're crouching. This one I honestly find pretty underwhelming now. I used to use it pretty often, but I found that there's not really a reason to switch off of Heavy Armor Training in the majority of situations for SWAT. The only real time that I do use this now is when I'm using the Glock 18, because the Glock 18 with the Riot Shield, you have to be ADSing in order for the shield to count as blocking for you. And without increased movement speed, that gun feels really awkward. Even with increased movement speed, I don't really take that weapon all that much because it is really awkward. And I find this one kind of just underwhelming in a lot of maps. It's still not bad. It still gives you some utility, I guess. So if you enjoy crouching, you enjoy the recoil reduction that you get when you're crouching, this one's not a bad option. But I don't feel like it's incredibly great as a skill overall. Next, we have our level 10 skills, and our first one is Close Combat Training. This is very similar to Commando's fallback skill, except for with this one, we get an additional 9mm pistol. So we increase our damage with our 9mm pistol and our knife by 85%, and you get that free second pistol. This one is really good, especially for the start of the match. After a few waves, it really kind of trails off because you're probably not going to just be using dual 9mm on SWAT. You could, and you could actually do more damage, at least per shot, than I think any of your weapons, which is a little bit funny, but you don't have enough ammo really to make that entirely viable, but it is really strong in the early waves, and I would always recommend taking Close Combat Training if you plan on starting in SWAT, because the extra 9mm pistol alone is good enough. So even if you don't plan on keeping SWAT or using the 9mm pistol at all, you still get extra value from that. And it's just really nice if you do have to rely on those pistols, or if you completely run out and have to rely on your knife, it's still pretty good. I would put this one into B tier. For like the first couple waves, I'd probably put it up into A tier because it is so strong. The first, 1 to 3 waves, depending on how long you're playing. And then, as the waves go on, it probably goes down to C tier because, it's great if you run out of bullets, but if you're not running out of bullets, not a huge deal. Our other level 10 is Tactical Reload. This just makes it so you reload all of your weapons faster. This is either by 20 or 30%. I don't remember exactly what it is, but a little bit quicker. This one is another nice perk, just like all the fast reloading perks are. But this one's, I would say, is the least impactful out of most of the weapons that enjoy reloading faster, because the submachine guns already reload incredibly quick. The only one that's slow is the Bastion, I would say. All the others reload fairly fast, where this isn't going to make a huge difference. And I usually switch to this later on after I have used up the effectiveness of Close Combat Training. I would put this one also into B tier. It's nice, but I wouldn't put it like above maybe Sharpshooters reloads or Gunslingers reloads. or even Commandos reloads, because I think all of their weapons benefit a bit more than SWATs, where SWATs are just fine with the standard reload. Then we have our level 15 perks. Our first one is Suppression Rounds. This increases the stumble power by 100% with all of your weapons. All on-perk weapons. This one is pretty nice too for SWAT, because all of their weapons do pretty low damage and have fairly low stumble chance. So you actually get a decent amount of value out of this one for knocking enemies around. I find it more useful than some of the other classes, stunning or stumbling abilities. This one actually makes more sense on SWAT, and I'd probably put this one into the low end of B tier. Same with the tactical reload. It helps a lot, and even if you're just stumbling small enemies, it still helps to a decent amount. And then our other level 15 is Ammo Vest. This one makes it so you can carry 30% more ammo with each of your weapons. That's really good. SWAT kind of struggles with ammo at times. It's not necessarily that they struggle with keeping ammo, it's just a lot of SWAT weapons ammo is actually more expensive than other weapons. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but it is. So if you can hold more bullets, that is pretty good. I wouldn't recommend taking this early on. Suppression Rounds is better just because you get immediate value from that, whereas this one, you can get some value early on if you want to keep your MP7, or if you just want to buy a cheap submachine gun and keep that for a while, like the Tommy gun or the Medic SMG, the MP5, something like that. Then you can kind of make it work early on, but I usually switch it later on once I have like the 2 weapons or 3 weapons I plan on taking with SWAT. So I'd probably say another B tier perk. It's nice to have. Next up, we got our level 20 skills, and this one is Assault Armor. This increases the maximum amount of armor that you can have by 50%, as well as you begin each match with an additional 50%. This does stack on top of heavy armor training. So at the start of each match, you'll start out with 100 armor, and you can go up to 150 armor. This one is really nice to have. It's incredibly good at the very start of the match, especially with these two in combination, because having 100 free armor on any class is really good, especially if you take the close combat training, then you get a second pistol. This is a technique that I pretty much recommend to every new player that wants to play on a higher difficulty or wants to play a class that they don't particularly like the starting weapon of. So if you really like playing Commando, but you really hate the AR-15, you could go with SWAT and just play the first few rounds with the MP7, and then once you have enough money to switch over to Commando and buy all of their stuff that you want to use, you can do that. Same with classes like Demo, where even though Demo has a great starting weapon, they're fairly squishy early on and can die pretty easily on certain maps, but they can be really good if you can just, get up to a kaboom stick or an RPG or something like that. So this one helps synergize with other classes incredibly well. I would probably put this one into A tier as well. Increasing your overall armor and increasing your tankiness is always going to be a nice thing, and I'm a big fan of just staying alive, so I'm going to put it into A tier. I don't think these are necessarily S tier. They might be if you're taking these 3 in consideration to then switch to another perk. Then I could see the argument of all 3 of those being in S tier because they are so strong early on. Our other level 20 is Cripple. This makes it so multiple hits with perk weapons slow down Zeds by 30%. Head and weak points apply this twice as fast. So this is similar to Headcracker that Gunslinger has. Now Headcracker is generally better than this because it doesn't matter how many times you hit something in the head. With Headcracker, you only need to hit it once to apply that effect. With this one, it's multiple hits. I'm not exactly sure how many it takes for it to fully trigger this, but I don't think it's very many. I think it might be maybe 3 to 4 bullets or something like that, which if you're firing something like the Chris Vector, no problem. You're going to hit all 4 shots in half a second. This one's really nice to have. Slowing down enemies is always going to be very useful. This does make it so you can outrun certain enemies as SWAT. This just kind of helps the team overall, I'd say. So I'd put this one probably up into A tier as well. It's quite nice to have. Then we have our level 25 perks. Our first one is Battering Ram. This one is a super fun perk. This makes it so during Z time, you move as fast as you normally would, as well as anytime you slam into something just by running into it, you deal massive damage to it, stun it, and fling it somewhere else. This one is actually really good and super fun to use. I don't know if it would be an S tier perk. If it was on a class like Berserker, it absolutely would be, but since it's on SWAT, you can put yourself in some bad situations, especially if you overestimate how long the Z time is going to last. You can also use this to get out of any real bad situations too, because you can knock over Fleshbounds, you can knock over Scrags. It works actually really well on Boss Wave if you can do it to any of the bosses. It's a pretty fun perk to use, and I'd probably put it up into A tier. I'm not sure if it's as good as the armor perks, so I think I put it a little bit below that, but it is quite handy to have. And then our last perk is the Rapid Assault. Rapid Assault makes it so during Z time, using any of your perk weapons have unlimited ammo, as well as you shoot in pretty much real time, and you have a 100% stumble chance added onto. So the extra stumble chance doesn't really matter all that much. The unlimited ammo, that matters a lot. Being able to shoot in real time, this is one of probably the best Z time perks, because you can get so much value out of it. The submachine guns are perfect for this. All of them shoot very fast, so you can kill actually a lot of things with this, especially if you're running something like the nail gun and just firing into crowds. The Vector does really well. The Medic SMG has a special interaction with this because you have unlimited healing darts also in your Z time. So you can potentially heal the entire team up to full, and you can actually work really well as like a pseudo medic, especially if things aren't focusing you at that time. It's really nice for that. I would put this one up into S tier because I think this one is actually probably worthy of that. So this is where I'd put all of SWAT's skills. Most of the SWATs are actually quite good. Next time we're going to be taking a look at Survivalist, which that should be a lot of fun. Survivalist has some very interesting perks and some very situational perks, so I'm not sure how I'm going to be ranking those, at least right now. But thanks for joining me. I really do appreciate that. If you like this video and you'd like to see more of them, be sure that you subscribe. That way you get notifications whenever I post them. Special thanks to all my supporters. These are all of my members over here on YouTube and my patrons over on Patreon. I really do appreciate that. If you'd like to be a part of that, there are links down in the description below. You get early access to videos and some extra perks for doing that as well. So thank you very much. If you guys would like to see more of my Killing Floor related tier list, be sure to click over here on this video right now. That'll take you right to it. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time. Till then, stay cool. Bye.